Frank, we're on.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Frank Comito with the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, and today we are pleased to bring to you Caribbean Tourism Fireworks, part of CHTA's series of fast-paced destination spotlights aimed at providing insights into reigniting tourism. As tourist destinations around the world reopened beginning last June, today's featured destination, Anguilla, took a measured, phased-in approach to reopening, being one of the last in the region to invite visitors to return. While this came with some short-term pain, and I might add, one of the lowest infection rates in the world, Anguilla is banking on its yielding long-term gain. So today we're honored to have with us four of Anguilla's greatest ambassadors for tourism. They're going to provide us with some insights about what Anguilla has been doing in advance of opening their doors, what travelers need to know and do to travel to Anguilla, and what they can expect when they get there. For 4 years in a row, Travel and Leisure has ranked Anguilla as the best island destination when considering the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and Bermuda. And when considering they received this recognition while coming out of one of the worst hurricanes to ever hit the island in 2017, that's quite impressive. Having been to Anguilla several times during the past several years, including a visit last year at this time to assess the incredible progress which was made to refresh and upgrade the island, I can personally attest to why they received that distinction. And it's quite a distinction and a source of pride by each of our guests this morning. So let's dive right into a brief presentation and discussion with our guests. This won't be a one-sided conversation. For the media joining us in Zoom and on Facebook Live, we encourage you to raise your hand if you're on Zoom to submit your question via the Q&A box. If you're joining us on Facebook, please post your questions by using the hashtag Caribbean Tourism Fireworks. So joining us to share their insights, each of whom will provide opening comments before we open up for your questions, and several from myself as well. I'd like to welcome the Honorable Quincy Gums Marie, who's Parliamentary Secretary for Economic Development, Natural Resources, Tourism, and IT. That's quite a portfolio, PS. Welcome, PS Gums Marie.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. She'll be joined by Kenroy Herbert, who's chairman of the Anguilla Tourist Board and a tourism entrepreneur and lifestyle connoisseur. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that too at some point, Kevin. Representing the Anguilla Hotel and Tourism Association is Kevin Carty, president, who also is operations manager at the iconic Cap Juluca, one of the world's pioneers in luxury tourism. And he'll be joined by Janine Edwards, who's the past vice president for the Anguilla Hotel and Tourism Association and owner of Anguilla's newest resort, Tranquility Beach, on the beautiful Meads Bay Beach. So good morning. With protocol having been somewhat established, let's all agree that at this point, we'll use first names. You can call me Frank. So let's start off with a backdrop from Quincy and Kenroy. Thank you both for for joining us. I turn it right over to you at this point.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to be part of these panel discussions and promoting our lovely island.
Yes, Frank, it's really a pleasure to be here as we speak about Anguilla and why Anguilla is a place worth traveling to in a pandemic. It's a very interesting situation where we have persons who may be afraid to travel, or they want to travel, but they want to have the experience that they had before COVID-19. And so having a balance of that in Anguilla is what we're trying to do. And it's a real pleasure to share with you what we're doing to achieve that today. So I'll jump right in and talk about our entry protocols. So when you're coming to Anguilla, one of the things that you would find across the region is that most countries are looking to have persons be pre-approved. 2 slides forward, please, for entry into Anguilla. In order to get to Anguilla, we're asking persons to get their pre-approval on ivisit.com. And all travelers, including returning residents, are required to do the pre-approval questionnaire. It's a questionnaire to find out where you're from, how long you're planning on staying, and a few health-related questions to get into Anguilla. The protocol for entry includes that questionnaire where once upon receipt on our end, you're assigned a personal concierge who will guide you through the process. On the website as well, you'll find where we have safe environment certified approved properties for stay. Part of our protocol includes ensuring that each property is equipped to handle guests coming onto our island and giving them a safe and secure travel. The travel entry requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, you have to complete the pre-registration form, forward one slide, upload a negative PCR COVID test that must be taken 3 to 5 days prior to arrival. Wear your mask. Masking is mandatory throughout the ports of Anguilla, although it is not mandatory for locals outside of the bubble as yet. And temperature checks as well as a COVID PCR test will be given upon arrival. So as soon as you get into Anguilla, the first thing you do is you get your second PCR test, and then you go through our immigration and customs protocol. On to our next slide, we'll talk about the airport and ground transportation protocols. Once you get on island, you have limited access to regular ground transportation. You will not be able to do things like rent cars until you have cleared quarantine. Our quarantine in Anguilla ranges from 10 to 14 days. 10 days being if you're from a low prevalence country, or a country that may have been declared COVID-free, and 14 days being if you're from a high prevalence country. And the prevalence rate is gauged by a prevalence of 0.2% or lower, that is low prevalence, or 0.2% or higher, that is high prevalence. You get your certified ground transportation from the airport to your certified property. And that certified ground transportation will also take you between properties. So if you would like to leave your property to do an excursion or go to a restaurant, certified ground transportation can take you there. So the quarantine experience is not too limiting. It's just that you can't have...
It actually doesn't sound like a quarantine. It sounds more like...
a stay in place.
A stay in place kind of thing, or you're trying to basically protect everybody in the whole process, but also create some sort of a balance so they can get out and about within the bubble, so to speak, the destination bubble.
So that's exactly what we are doing. In fact, we don't call it quarantine, we call it stay in place. That's actually my mistake. I'm sorry about that. Okay. But it's definitely a bubble experience or a guided movement experience. So you're allowed to do a plethora of activities, however, with certain limitations. And it's primarily important for, in the event that we have any guests that have COVID, we would be able to do contact tracing, but we still want guests to have their same experience once they get here.
So I can play golf. I can play golf. I can go on.
You can play golf. You can go on an excursion to an offshore key. You can go to approved restaurants who have opted into the bubble. You can have regular fitness hikes. You can go to the beach. So there's a lot of things you can do in your stay in place period.
Okay.
One thing I neglected to mention is that once you get to the island, you do your PCR test. You will not be able to leave the property until you receive a negative PCR test, but you will be able to go to the restaurants on property and experience your property. That process will take probably by the next day you get your results.
So it's not like I have to stay in a room. I can, if I'm at Cabo Chaluca, I can
no.
Beach
you can definitely roam. You can go to the beach. You can go to the restaurants. You cannot use the gym facilities, but I don't think anybody wants a gym on their first day into vacation, so that's fine. But you can definitely go on and go to the restaurants and enjoy the property until you receive a negative test, which you get by the next day. One thing about our experience in getting to Anguilla, as we move forward to one slide, is that we have packages to cover the cost of the multiple COVID tests as well as our health surveillance program. And you will see that we have 3 packages, and it starts with a quick trip, which covers the solo traveler. Couples can be a brother and a sister, 2 friends, a husband and a wife. It doesn't really matter. And the price for the family or group, it would just be an additional $250 per person. So it goes to solo traveler 300, the couples 500, family or group. For the additional person would be $250 extra. A longer stay would be from 6 to 90 days, and it goes the same as solo for 400, the couples for 6, and family or group, an additional person would be $250 extra. There's no cap on what we would consider a family or group. I think an exciting thing that would have stemmed, one slide back, please. An exciting thing that would have stemmed from our experience of COVID is having our long stay digital nomad work from Anguilla program, which allows persons to stay up to a year in Anguilla. And that would be $2,000 for the individual, $3,000 for the group, our family. And that's a very exciting program that we've started because it includes your extended stay, it includes your digital work permit. And on the website, I visit anguilla.com, you get everything from how to enroll your kids into school if you would like to move down with your family, places to eat, banking details, how do you get an Anguilla telephone number, lots of additional information that we have for the person trying to travel to Anguilla at this time. So I know we have a lot of other things to cover. I'll hand over to Ken Roy right now, but I'll be excited and honored to answer any additional questions about what I just covered.
Thank you.
So let's talk now about getting to Anguilla. Anguilla is the most northern leeward island, and it has same-day connections from all the major cities in the US. So what that looks like is, most people fly from the US to St. Martin, and then it's a quick boat ride over to Anguilla or a short 6-minute plane ride to Anguilla. You can also fly to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and it's a 55-minute flight to Anguilla. For those of you coming from Europe and the UK, you also fly to St. Martin. You can also fly to Antigua. So when you get to St. Martin, you have the option of, like I mentioned, of a boat ride over and also a plane ride over. And the plane ride is a short 6 minutes. When you arrive into St. Martin, you don't go through immigration. There's a desk agent that will meet you before immigration, and they will guide you into the transit lounge. They will also take care of your luggage for you. So the process is very easy. And it's a 6-minute plane ride over to Anguilla. So that option is very easy. Secondly, before we get to the Antigua route, let's talk about the boat rides. So even though the plane ride is a short 6 minutes, the boat ride takes about 15 to 20 minutes. The only difference is the boats, is open air, and usually you have rum punch in hand, which is our drink of choice here in Anguilla. So we like to say your vacation starts with a welcome rum punch. So like I mentioned before, the UK route, most folks fly into St. Martin or also into Antigua, and we have same-day connections to Anguilla as well. One slide forward, please. So the Antigua route is a very popular route for the UK travelers. So you Virgin and British Airways fly into Antigua. Virgin will resume operations shortly. British Airways currently flies into Antigua, and same-day connections with Anguilla Air Services and Trans-Anguilla. Forward, please. So Anguilla is known for having some of the most spectacular beaches, in the world. As you can see, my backdrop, that's beautiful Meads Bay, and the slide shows us beautiful Shoal Bay West. Little Bay is a very popular spot as well. There's a famous rock where most people go and jump off. It's a great Instagram moment. And then you have wonderful Rendezvous Bay. Meads Bay again, which is the backdrop. This is just a spectacular beach, lots of accommodations and lots of restaurants. It is also the idea it also gave us the idea for the guided movement concept, because everything is located in such a close proximity. Very popular beach here again, Shoal Bay East. One of the good things about the beaches on Anguilla, we have sort of 2 spectacular beaches, and even when the island is filled, the beaches are never crowded. So you can always have a spot for yourself. That is always a plus when
So
coming.
social distancing is not a problem in Anguilla on the beaches.
Not at all. That's why we say lose the crowd and find yourself.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay.
So Anguilla also boasts, a vast array of activities, adventure, and culture. This year, we were able, I think we were the only Caribbean island who were fortunate enough to celebrate our carnival in August. The rest of the world watched us, reveling in the streets and enjoying our carnival because we were COVID free. And Anguilla has a rich culture in carnival and different festivals throughout the year. A very popular festival is also Festival del Mar, which is Festival of the Sea. And this happens around Easter. This draws in large crowds of visitors. And we also, during Carnival, this slide shows one of the pictures from Carnival this year. This is an event called Eyes Wide Shut. It starts at 4 in the morning and stops at about 10 a.m. in the morning. So this is always very well attended. Many people fly in for this because there's always, international artists. So this is a very, very good event. And then we also have the local scene. Here we have, Anguilla's famous reggae superstar Banky Banks and his son Omar Banks. He plays weekly at the Dune Preserve, and he also has a spectacular show every year in March called Moonsplash. Now, Anguilla, if you want to know about Anguilla culture, you need to talk about boat racing. And I am a huge fan of boat racing, like all Anguillians. And the boat racing season in Anguilla is from April to August. And boat racing is our national sport. And, we love it. If I start talking about boat racing, we'll be here all day. Anguilla also has a lot of remote areas. And for those who want to hike and explore, the different beaches, etc., we have a lot of areas for hiking. And we also have kayaking, night kayaking, and a lot of caves and stuff where people can explore. Also, tons of water sports, Anguilla has tons of motorized and unmotorized water sports. Here we have someone kite surfing. We also have, like I mentioned, night kayaking. This is so much fun to do this. And I think we're one of the few places that offer night kayaking. And of course, we have horseback riding. Many of the horses in Anguilla can actually swim. So the horses can actually go in the water and swim with you on this back. It's a really good experience. If you come to Anguilla, try horseback riding and try swimming in the water with the horses. Again, we have many restaurants, and we have offshore keys that has restaurants. Here we have a picture of wonderful Sand Island, which is a great spot for lunch. It's a quick 10-minute boat ride from Sandy Ground. And of course, we can't talk about Anguilla without mentioning our 18-hole championship Greg Norman golf course. So if you're into golf, Anguilla also boasts one of the best championship golf courses in the region. It plays like a links course for you golf connoisseurs, so you'll know exactly what that means. Now, romance. Anguilla is a huge wedding and honeymoon destination, and is one of our 5 pillars. And we have many destination weddings in Anguilla and honeymoons. It's perfect for it. And you can see the backdrops here. You have many different weddings. This is one at Malihana Hotel. Of course, if you talk about Anguilla, you have to mention that Anguilla is the cuisine capital of the Caribbean. And we have so many different restaurants, so many private chefs. The food in Anguilla is always fresh and spectacular. And Frank, I'm sure you could attest to this.
Absolutely.
To Anguilla. Our
Yes,
favorite. Yeah, sorry?
I've had a number of memorable meals in Anguilla. And by the way, they have consistently been one of the top contenders at our annual Taste of the Caribbean event, winning regional awards. So well known for your cuisine.
Oh yes. And we're also known for rum punches, and this particular drink here is called a rumsey. If you're in Anguilla, go to Ocean Echo, enjoy a rumsey. But all the restaurants and beach bars have different variation of rum punches, and rum punches is our drink of choice here on Anguilla. That is the end. So, Frank, we are ready to move on.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much, Quincy and Roy. Really appreciate those insights and that overview of what you've been doing and what the destination offers. Let's move on right now to get some hoteliers' perspectives as well from the Anguilla Hotel and Tourism Association. I'd like to turn it over at this point to Kevin and Janine.
Hey, good morning, Frank. Good morning, panel and all listeners. It's great to be here this morning. Thanks for a great introduction, Frank. Job well done. I just want to speak basically about what the experience has been thus far. We opened, the island has been open since November 1, and I think that it's gone a lot better than could have been anticipated or expected. Our guests, I would say, have been pleasantly surprised by how seamless the arrival process has been. When they get to properties, how much activity they have available to them within the confines of COVID protocols. But I think most properties have done a lot of work on the, for instance, the pre-arrival aspect. So, when you get to the property, the check-in process is very quick, no glitches. So there's as little contact as possible on arrival. Properties have invested heavily into training, both COVID related, be it general COVID training, departmental training, etc., but also ensuring the staff are up to par on quality assurance standards, be it Forbes, be it LQA, etc., just making sure that everything is as it should be after 7 months. So far it's been so good. The experience is different, but it's still very amazing. Example, most of our restaurants on island are outdoor, so there's no AC. So once they go through the certification process, they're able to open, and the experience is, apart from the masks, is almost as it would be in normal terms. There's less seating, of course, etc., in restaurants, but over the last 7 months, chefs have had the chance to really reimagine and reconstruct menus. So whereas the food before was great, now I would say it's really, really amazing. The guests, again, are very surprised as to how much they can actually do. Water sports, golf, fishing trips, they all take place within the confines of, I would say, very rigorous COVID protocols. So far, I think guests have been very happy with the arrival experience, the on-property experience, and we have also some long-staying guests, because once you're here more than 2 weeks, then you get out of the staying place bubble, and you're able to go far and wide. What a lot of guests have been doing also, visitors have been not just patronizing restaurants on property, but they've been able to order out from restaurants off property, and that process has been very good. The good thing is here in Anguilla, we trade on smiles, but a real smile is felt rather than seen. So we still do pretty good.
So how do you do that behind a mask? We can read the smile in the eyes, or what?
You can read the smile in the eyes, but you can feel the warmth.
Okay.
You can feel the genuineness. You can feel the realness of it. So, and that is what we've traded on, the realness and genuineness of our experiences, which
very good.
Guard very jealously.
Very good.
So I'll hand over to I'm sorry.
Janine picks up at this point.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. So excited to be globally connected with everyone across the world. Thank you so much. So basically, naturally, Anguilla is excellent for social distancing. We're very outdoorsy. We have very low density, so you never find packed beaches. So Anguilla was sort of nicely suited to be able to enter back into the tourism industry at this time. And if you know Anguilla's history, we know that Anguillians are known to be extremely resilient. And even after Hurricane Irma a couple of years ago, I know, Frank, you can attest to this because you visited since, that we built back even better and stronger. So we had taken the time, the crisis, to reflect and really come back more powerful. And it's the same with this pandemic. We were put on pause for a few months, but we were very active in that time. Actually, we were probably busier than even we are in season, because we were upgrading ourselves, we were learning the information. As Kevin mentioned, we were retraining, retooling, and we really took the chance to look at every single guest moment, every element within our visitor experience. And we were challenged to really come up and say, how can we make this better? So we had a lot of private and public sector collaboration, many meetings and shared texts, shared resources. We tried to also look at what's happening around the world and what worked well. And because we had more time to do it before we came to market, we were able to really look at the best practices and see how to move forward. So as Kevin also mentioned, the smile, that is what we're known for here. Apart from our great beaches and our culinary delights, one of the most distinctive things about our Anguillan product is hospitality. We have a very, very special connection between our visitors who come and our guests, our staff, and our general population. So we were challenged to see, how can we keep this magic, with social distancing, with masks, and so on. So we really took a lot of time out to intentionally upgrade our products across all the properties and all the restaurants. So we look at the entire experience. For example, from the guest inquiry stage, we are a lot more hands-on with our guests because, of course, people have concerns, they have questions as to how to go through the logistics. So we find that we're spending so much more time one-on-one with our guests, getting to know them, what they would like, what their fears are, what their dreams are, and really being able to personalize the product so much more. So actually, when they reach on island, we know them very, very well, which is a big plus, Also,
you get a very high percentage of return visitors.
Yes,
as I recall.
I think once the Anguilla bug bites you, you must return. I mean, I've known of friends who traditionally would travel to a different place every year. And once they reach Anguilla, they really are stuck and they keep returning. So we have an excellent repeat visitor clientele. People are known by name. Our staff know when guests are coming back. If you don't come back at that certain time, they're asking for you. And we even have that special relationship between guests who come at the same time. For example, you may come to a property every February, you link up with other guests who do. So it's really a great community of guests and locals, on Anguilla. And also our properties, we're very proud to take the opportunity to throw in, a little extra love, a little extra TLC. We have different amenities that we're throwing in to really make you feel welcome and really thank you for your patronage. At some places, there are fresh pastries delivered. You get extra perks. Sometimes you get, special value for long stay. So we've really made an effort to look at what we're offering and ensure that we can really pump it up with great value for our guests. So we are very happy to welcome guests, whether you're a repeat guest or a brand new guest, to come and experience the magic in Anguilla.
Excellent. Thank you, Janine. So I understand you have a brief video that you'd like to share with us to tease us a bit.
Yes, for sure.
So
for sure.
Can we roll that? That's just not fair. Oh, beautiful, absolutely stunning. It is one of the most breathtaking destinations in the world. Thank you, Janine. I'm going to probe a few questions, and we want to open it up for questions from the audience as well. But let me be pretty direct about several areas which I suspect are top of mind for many of us. You have developed extensive health safety protocols as a destination and a phased-in approach to reopening tourism. And right now, it's pretty much open to anybody, providing they meet those protocols. So what's been the and that's clearly a demonstration of the destination's commitment to health safety, to protect not only visitors but the employees and residents as well. But what's been the response from visitors? How are they handling matters like physical distancing, the use of face coverings, testing, the cost of getting there? I know you attract luxury travelers, and in many cases they will pay for the added cost to have the incredible privacy and beauty of the experience. But what's been the response? Kevin, you touched on that a little bit, but any of you, what kind of response are you seeing now? You're a little over 2 weeks with your phase 2 reopening.
The response has been great, because I think by and large, we're all living in a brand new world. Everything is sort of changed. The way we interact, all the protocols that are established here are probably, around the whole world. So I think where most of our visitors come from, there's probably a lot more restrictions even, and have been for the last half a year. Whereas in Anguilla, we've been fortunate enough to not have to have the need for these rigorous protocols, because we've stayed totally COVID-free. And the guests that arrive here who love Anguilla, they actually want to keep it that way. So they are very compliant, and we've had no problems with it. For instance, be it the checks by our health team or whoever, the guests have been very, very open to it. We've had not one single complaint or even a comment on how the experience has been. The tone, I would say, on properties is set by staff. So the staff wear the masks and the various PPE, and the guests follow it. So it's not even a matter that you've got to tell a guest, can you please wear your mask? It's almost automatic. So the experience has been really good. And I think the guests, they want to stay safe, and they want to keep Anguilla safe, because they want to keep coming back. Because as you said, we have such a high percentage of repeat clientele that really love this place, and I think they're pretty happy to come here. To see the extent that we've gone, how serious we've been about our safety and security, and they by and large just buy into it.
Excellent. Anyone else want to chime in on that? But before I ask another question we've got here.
Yes, I totally agree with Kevin. I think awareness has been quite great, because before the guests come, they understand exactly what they have to do. And there's a great level of respect for Anguilla and us being able to stay COVID-free. And I think that many guests now, they actually appreciate the extra attention to safety and hygiene. So I think it's a big seller for Anguilla, and I think we'll do very well with it.
Very good. So it's a question for anybody, but if Quincy or Kenroy would like to chime in, we'd welcome it. Anguilla is known for I think someone even mentioned it earlier, the attentive yet unobtrusive hospitality of its people. So that, along with your incredible natural beauty, your world-renowned cuisine, your spas and your focus on wellness, and some of the best resorts and villas in the world, has made you a magnet for luxury travelers, celebrities, and those who cherish their privacy. How have Anguillans reacted to the return of visitors to your island? What's been the response on the other side? So Kevin told us a little bit about how visitors have been responding. How are the residents responding?
I think it has been mentioned that we have more or less existed in a bubble of our own since March, when we closed our borders and then reopened in a phased way, first to locals for repatriation, then to our usual long-term stay guests. And now we are attracting our shorter-term stay guests. And we remained closed for quite a few months. And we're opening now when the numbers, especially from our highest market in the US, is climbing. So there are some persons who are not very excited about that, and you'd understand their fear. But the reality is that the majority of our working force in Anguilla are employed in the hospitality sector, which means that they would have also been unemployed or would have been out of work from around March or April. And they are excited about the reopening. So you do have a little bit of a divide. But I think what's the important part is that we have done so much training to get our employees up to a place where they feel confident to operate in a world where someone may have COVID. Lots of PAHO training, lots of training with our local health authority, psychosocial training, because we know that it would be very difficult operating in this post-COVID world where our product is so is ordinarily done in a way where we hug, we embrace, we get people here, we shake hands, and that's been part of the Anguilla experience. So re-examining.
That's the tough part these days.
Yes. So really the challenge has been changing the culture and having persons feel confident in working in that environment with this new change. And we're getting to that place where persons are getting it. We're having persons from the employee advocating for the reopening because they feel so much more empowered. So our strategy has really been rooted in communicating with the public and empowering our employees to a point where they feel confident to operate in that world. And we're seeing the shift. In at some points, it's a bit slower than we would like it to be, but we're seeing the shift where persons are realizing that reopening is important, but we're doing it in a very responsible way.
Okay, here's a question. Go ahead.
Just to add with what Honorable Paulsek mentioned, Anguilla has a high repeat clientele. So for the staff and the accommodation sector, we have seen, kids grow up over the years. Clients becomes family, and most of their staff are looking forward to see their family and friends again. And so when they return, it is one big virtual hug, etc. Like the Paulsek says, it's a little bit divided, but for the most part, we are so looking forward to welcoming our families back home. Very good,
very good. So, Ken Roy, with you and Janine and whoever wants to reply to this, I know that Janine's property is new. I know there's been some refurbishments and upgrades of some of the properties, attractions, excursions, other kinds of opportunity. What's new? What's different? I know a lot of things happened after the hurricanes, but what's new? Have experience and top products emerged during this period over the past couple of years that our folks might want to hear about?
Well, I know Janine may probably want to speak on Tranquility, but just before she does, Anguilla is like the phoenix rising from the ashes of Hurricane Irma. What Hurricane Irma did to us, it gave us a renewed vigor. There was a lot of damage, and because of that, many properties were able to improve on just aesthetics, amenities, and also services. So there's a lot more to be improved. For instance, this hasn't happened as yet, but in about 2 years, we will have a new port of entry in Blown Point. We'll have a new facility there. The original one was destroyed because of Hurricane Irma. And just to put out here, the Anguilla Tourist Board is working on really enhancing the customer arrival and departure experience. We'll elaborate more into that. On heavy arrival days, you'll have music, you'll have steel band playing, you'll have welcome rum punches, but we won't let the cat out of the bag too much. But like I mentioned before, Hurricane Irma, because of the damage it did, it gave us an opportunity to really improve the accommodation sector, the restaurant sector. So I'll turn it over to Janine because I'm sure she definitely wants to speak about Tranquility. By the way, I've stayed in Tranquility twice this year on some vacations, and I must say it is a very spectacular property on Meads Bay. I love it. And what's not to love about being on the beach on Meads Bay on COVID-free Anguilla?
Ken Roy, we had another question while I got you on the line because I think this fits more into your bailiwick. Are you marketing, or are you considering marketing to the Caribbean as well?
Yes, definitely. There's something we are definitely looking into is we have representatives all over the world, but we have so many visitors and one-day visitors from the Caribbean that we are actually looking into having a Caribbean rep So that is something we are definitely looking into, and I think this will be implemented as soon as next year.
Very good, very good. Okay, Janine, a little comment on not only your property, but some of the other happenings that are going on, because I know a couple of properties have changed hands or ownership or have taken on some international affiliations with flags or other types of travel partners. So what's happening in that arena?
Well, certainly Anguilla is a very dynamic place for tourism. We're always upgrading and moving on and so on. So as you mentioned, there has been some shifts. I know, for example, Zemi Beach is now a Hilton LXR, which is an awesome addition to it. We opened Tranquility Beach, 15 condo units on Meads Bay, right, literally sitting on Meads Bay. We were happy to have Ken Roy as a guest, and we've done a lot of staycations actually in the past several months, because we really wanted locals to experience our product as well. And local families who could not travel as usual were very happy to come and take it up. And there were several of the other properties as well offering staycations. I know there's Carimar, there's Shoal Bay Villas, Turtle Nest, Bella Blue. A number of properties and villas really went all out and offered staycations to residents. And Anguilla, as you know, has a lot of entrepreneurial people. So we've seen a lot of our young people and other hospitality professionals offer a new range of services. For example, ancillary services. So you'll see more people doing spa on the go, a lot of different food options where they can deliver. You have a young man who's delivering food all over the island, bringing that convenience. You have people coming to your property to do yoga on the beach, etc. So I must say there's been really a wealth of new ancillary services that have popped up that are really bringing conveniences right to the door of the guests. We also have different things like artists would come and offer art classes, cooking classes. There's so many things that we have sort of added to our artillery of experiences. Just the other day, I saw fire dancers on the beach at a party. So that's also a new addition. So we have so many more exciting moments and opportunities to share with our guests that have come up even despite the pandemic. So,
yeah. Frank, I just want to add as well that coming out from Irma, and I think we'll have also a success story coming out of the pandemic. But when we relate to Irma in 2017, what you found really was building stronger, as in actual physical structures, and then also building stronger relationships. So you would see a lot more commitment to the local guests, because after Irma, it was the locals going around and patronizing the different restaurants and hotels that kept it up. And so that you see a lot more offerings. And something that's very unique about the Anguilla experience and the Anguillian guests is that post Irma, it was also our guests who sent water, food, and other items down to the properties that they frequent to ensure that the workers there and their families were safe. So we have been building stronger relationships. And even now where travel is a bit more difficult, or persons may feel that, they're a bit fearful of travel during COVID, they're still trying to send things down to their Anguillian family. So we are building even stronger relationships. And I think after COVID, we will have a story about how we have been marrying technology and tourism and trying to get a better story, because we're seeing now the change in that, where we still have that human touch, but we're trying to make it a bit more digital. So we're seeing our growth, and that's really a telling story of the Anguillan resilience and how we bounce back stronger after every crisis.
Very good, very good. Now, a major part of your market traditionally has also been the wedding and honeymoon part of it. And we know that while people still get married and still go on honeymoons, the dynamics of that have changed dramatically. I mean, are you able to handle that? Are you looking at that right now? Is something that you want to advance? And if you're doing it, what are the protocols that need to be put in place? I would imagine all the protocols that you talked about earlier, but is it a market that's still viable for you right now?
It is definitely still a market that's viable, although at this moment we're catering to smaller weddings. So weddings with families and friends originating from the same or very close places, or where they would have opted to even stay in place prior to travel to Anguilla so they could be around each other and then mix around each other in Anguilla. In fact, we have done protocols because we do specific protocols for that. So we have done protocols with the Ministry of Health for about 7 or so weddings so far. Persons who would have been putting off their wedding, anticipating Anguilla's reopening. And we see how it is working, especially where their weddings about 50 persons and under. Right now, for the larger weddings, we are not promoting that. And I think that's the reality worldwide, that larger groupings is not encouraged. But persons who have originated from the same place, what is medically termed as a germ bubble, as in that they live in the same area, they frequent each other's homes, it's fine to come on down and live and experience Anguilla like, prior to COVID-19. So we have been accommodating them and we continue to do so.
Right.
Just to piggyback on that, I know we've had a couple of weddings that I personally have attended, observed, and I think one of the things that blows a lot of couples away about Anguilla is that we do romance very well. So we've had the weddings, we've also had some honeymooners. So it's almost getting back to regular travel, but it's just for the world to know that, Anguilla is here, we are open in a new format, and we're doing pretty much the same things, just on a smaller scale.
Sure.
But the weddings that I've observed the couples have been very, very happy.
Is it too early to see changes or patterns in terms of where your guests are coming from, and also what their spending patterns have been like? We have a question on that.
Well, spending patterns are somewhat restricted because of the bubble scenario to stay in place. So whereas Anguilla being a culinary destination, if you check into a property, say 7 nights, you probably might eat at that property maybe 1-2 nights for the week, and you would try one of our top restaurants every night of the week. So now there's not restrictions, but they tend to eat in a little more. And in addition to our protocols, you must remember that a lot of these guests, they're not overly keen on socializing, so to speak. So spending patterns, areas that would suffer a little bit at the moment would be spas, boutiques, etc. So spending patterns have changed, and I would say rightly so.
So Kevin, you're not doing spa right now, but are you doing yoga up on that point? It's absolutely gorgeous point.
Oh, definitely. We're doing yoga every morning. We have, the regular boot camps, but it's spread out. The distance between guests is strictly policed and maintained, and the guests don't want to get close to each other either. So that has been working very well.
Incredible, nice breeze, steady breeze.
Oh right? Yeah, it's all outdoor. So it's and I must commend the Paulsec, Mrs. Gomes Marie, because she was very instrumental in getting all of these protocols looked at, redesigned, and really packaged in a way that they can be used and workable. So for every activity that we do, it's all a certification process where it's approved by the ministry. And that process they've been very, very, very helpful as well.
And I believe you've also done the training with the Caribbean Public Health Agency and some of the stuff that CHTA has provided as well.
And there's been definitely. And that's all been very, very helpful. And it's to a point now where it's become almost automatic in that you understand what it is we are up against, and whatever it is you want to do, there is most times a way to do it so that anybody can figure out, okay, this is how we have to do this.
Love the can-do attitude. So we have a question here about the update on because a number of your travelers transit through St. Martin, which has, obviously extensive air connecting service for you guys as well. So many of them opt to do the ferry experience, which I've done a number of times from St. Martin or from the French or Dutch side of St. Martin. And how's that doing? Is that, I mean, it's, I'll just be quite candid. I've had good experiences and not so good experiences with that in the past. How's it doing now?
Well, the regular ferry service, the service from Marigot from the French side, that is not in operation, and that won't be in operation for the future. However, the service from the Dutch side, from the airport side, is doing well, and the Anguilla ferry Anguilla St. Martin Ferry Terminal is slated to reopen this Saturday. Right now, you can still ferry from St. Martin to Anguilla from the Simpson Bay Marina. It is the same charter boat, so currently we're utilizing that marina to ferry folks over from St. Martin. And you know,
what are the health safety protocols for that part of it?
So at the marina, of course, social distancing. You have to wear a mask, etc. You still offer the welcome rum punch on board if you so desire. There's two options as well. There's a private charter and there's also the shuttle service. The shuttle service is a shared schedule service, and the boats can hold between 12 and up to 40 persons. However, for the smaller boats, they don't fill them to capacity because the shared service is different folks. So instead of having say 12, you might have 7 or 8 persons on board.
Sure. So do I need to book that in advance as a traveler, or is that something that upon arrival I can opt to take that, and I'm not going to be waiting?
No, it's prearranged, because all the protocols in St. Martin, etc., all of these services has to be prearranged before you travel.
Okay. So how's it looking for the Kenroy and I'm sorry, Kevin and Janine in particular? How's it looking for the upcoming holiday season?
I would say thus far, there are a lot of inquiries. The phones have not stopped ringing. In fact, we've had to bring on extra staff to cope with the volume of emails and calls that we've been getting. So we expect that in short order to begin converting over into bookings. I think a lot of folks were waiting to see how the process would go, how we would open, what the island would be like, would it remain safe, etc. And there's no end to the number of calls that we get inquiring about Anguilla, not just the properties, but the island itself, what they can do, what they can't do, how to go about it. Okay. So I think that it especially coming up for the holiday season, we always do well, and we will do this season as well. And just coming up to Thanksgiving week, we've gotten a lot of bookings, so that's looking pretty good as well. And to the extent that we've had to bring in quite a number of extra staff to make sure that we're able to cope. Right, we're not exactly full, but we're not. The idea is not to have the property totally full, to be honest, at this point. But it's going probably better than we had even expected.
And like many of the properties in Anguilla, they're spread out, so it's not like you're in a traditional box type of hotel environment.
No, I think the average property, the average beach, for years has been natural social distancing anyway, because the chairs are never piled on top of each other. They're always spread out. So. And
how are things looking for bookings into next winter?
Oh, in particular, that's beginning to look very good. Especially for our repeat guests who we know are now beginning to book and looking to come back. They contact the resorts. I have a number of guests that contact me personally, letting me know when they're going to come. And a lot of these folks come 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year. So once they get comfortable that the process is safe, I think a lot of the apprehension that a lot of folks have in traveling is not necessarily with Anguilla or St. Martin, but going through airports in different parts of the world. If you know what I mean, that's a lot of the concern. But I think as the world begins to opens up, we wake up to a new dawn, and we have to really learn to coexist and soldier on. So I think we're seeing the benefit from that now.
Well, great. Well, we have a couple more questions, but we can get to those. We'll get to those individually later. But I did want to wrap up. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We're already going over a few minutes, but. Finally, just for each of you, just in a couple of words, what excites you about Anguilla? Why should someone consider Anguilla as a vacation option in the midst of this pandemic?
I'll give you 6 reasons.
Go ahead, Kenroy.
Breathtaking beaches, delectable dining. We have renowned resorts. We have an abundance of activities, humble hospitality. And the most important reason is our genuinely friendly locals. And 7, Anguilla's COVID-free.
Right. That's quite impressive. And Hope, there is a question here. What are you going to do to make sure you keep it that way? It sounds like you've got the protocols in place. Double PCR tests and inconvenience. Let's be straight. A little bit more money to get there, and inconvenience. Let's be straight. But at the same time, what's the upside of that? The upside of is you're providing a high level of health safety assurance, and for many people, you can't put a price on that stuff. So, okay, who's next? Real quick wrap up. What excites you?
I think what's most exciting is our phrase for the campaign, and that's for the COVID campaign, and probably into the future. Lose the crowd, find yourself. The traveler right now is trying to lose the crowd. They're trying to reconnect, and Anguilla is a place that offers that. Our experience right now is one that it has not really changed due to COVID-19. In fact, one of our visitors recently told me that she thinks that Anguilla was made for a pandemic. Naturally spacious, beautiful air flowing. Most of our restaurants are high-end, but outdoor, free-flowing air. Anguilla is really a place that has adapted to the taste of the visitor, and we are daring and bold, and every day we're adding something new and trying something new and trying to be a place worth traveling to in this time where travel is something that people are skeptical about. And we're so happy to have a connection with our tourists in the way that we do, to get the feedback. And this product is really made for the traveler, for the person that wants to come out and find themselves. And Anguilla is really waiting for you, and we're ready for you with open arms.
Okay. Who's next?
I would say that we speak about the resilience, natural resilience of the Anguillan people. Well, that naturally feeds into a natural optimism that is infectious. So Anguilla is a place where you can rejuvenate and recharge, have great and real experiences, and be infused with some of our optimism and our positive energy, which is what I think a lot of people who travel to Anguilla really look for. Yes, the world-class service, safety, but the experience is still real. The smiles that you feel are genuine and very real.
That sounds terrific. The only thing I would caution, Kevin, is be careful about that word infectious. Okay.
Not a popular word right now.
And Janine?
Well, I think for me, what I find so marvelous about Anguilla is that you have the highest levels of sophistication at all levels, no matter what property you're in, no matter what restaurant you're going to, whether it's 5-star or it's beachside or, street side culinary. So we have all the services you could require in terms of sophistication. Yet there's a really lovely low-key vibe. You're relaxed, you feel at home. So you can do everything. You have barefoot elegance then, it's just an awesome mix. And then above all, however, I think what keeps people coming back, and we even want new people to come and experience, is that personal connection between the local community and our guests. I mean, you really can't put a price on that. And it boils down to, how does Anguilla make you feel? And most people, they feel at their very best self. They live their very best life, and it's their happy space and happy place. So I think that captures the magic and essence of Anguilla, and we'd love to share it with everyone.
That sounds terrific. The magic and excellence. So thank you so much. By the way, for the audience, this has been recorded, and it's also will be available on Facebook. I would encourage you to share the recording as well. And thank you so much, Parliamentary Secretary Quincia, Kenroy, Kevin, and Janine. Great info and insights this morning, and we wish you great success as you build back tourism in Anguilla. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our guests from Anguilla, the team at CHTA, and today's organizers, Marketplace Excellence, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for details on our next Destination Spotlight. I want to again thank all of our panelists for their great insights, and thank you, the media, for being such great advocates and communicators for the world's greatest tropical paradise, the Caribbean. And for more news and information, we invite you to follow CHTA on Facebook and join our mailing list by emailing us at membership@caribbeanhotelandtourism.com. As the world looks for relief during this most difficult period, we remind you that There's no better place to refresh, renew, and heal one's mind, body, and spirit than the beautiful island of Anguilla and the Caribbean. Life needs the Caribbean. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for having us.